So the first year.
You were the son that day.
Wow. Wow. So the first year, Shir was in Beit Vagan. I lived in Beit Vagan still, and a few people came. I know. Did you come?
Yeah.
Joel came. Rav Nadel came.
Danny
Weinblum, Simon Sinet.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And a bunch of my people from Beit Vagan came, and that was the first year. And so it became a minig, but we finished Yud Gimel Ekrim. So the Shiloh was, do we start again? About Ram Nadel, I just mentioned your name. If you were David Shalom, are you going to stay the whole time? I'll sit up here. No. So question was to go over, start from the beginning, nobody would know the difference, or start something new. So for my purposes, it's better to start something new. We went through the Yud Gimel Ikrim, learn something new. So I decided to learn Hilchos De'os. Hilchos De'os, there's not a lot written on Hilchos De'os. There's not a lot of, and it must be Min HaShamayim because even the link is not working right. There's not material on Hilchos De'os, but a little bit I heard some shiurim on Hilchos De'os from Rav Shapiro. I heard shiurim from Rav Yaacov Haber on Hilchos De'os, a little bit from Rav Sheinberg on Hilchos De'os. I don't know who said what. I have no idea, but whatever's good, probably you can figure out what came. And then the last few days I've been learning Hilchos De'os, trying to understand. But before we get to Hilchos De'os, let me just say this: it's Hoshana Rabah. So Hoshana Rabah. Hoshana means is a lashon of tefillah. Hoshana, like Ana Hashem Hoshiana, and it's the Hoshana is named after the prayer. Hoshana Rabah means it's the big day of tefillah. This is the big one. According to the Arizal, there's a Chasimas Hadin that didn't even happen on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and this leads up to our davening for Geshem, which is the Chibur of Shemayim Va'aretz. That's what Geshem is. Geshem connects the Shemayim and the Aretz, and that's it's not just about the rain and all of our Gashmias comes from it, but it's about that something from Shemayim is coming directly into something of Aretz. That's what Geshem is. And Hoshana Rabah is the Tchila, the Arizal says the Tchilas of the connection of Hoshana Rabah, where Hashem really gives us the Gashmias that we need for our life. He gives us life itself. Until there's a makabel, like Rashi says in Bereshis, until there's a makabel, there's no geshem. So we have to be makabel, that bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Arizal says, I don't know what any of this means, I'll just tell it to you. The Arizal says that the Hoshana Rabah is the 21st day of Tishrei, which is the first three letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the 26th day since the Brias Ha'olam, which is the Shem Hashem. Yud Kei 26 is Yud Kei Vav Kei, and Hey is always Ha'adam. So it means to say that this is the Chasima of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the din, on our din. So that's why it's the minhag of so many people to say Tikkun or to learn Torah. We learn Torah, but to say Tikkun, to learn Torah, to be up, to be panoi to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with whatever limud and whatever tefillah it is, but it's kedai somewhere in the night, so in your own life to say it's tefillah, because tefillahs are very, very important on Hoshana Rabah. Hoshana Rabah. Dafka at night, the Rambam says, is the beginning of tefillah. Hilchos De'os. Don't cheat ahead on the sheet because it's just going to mix. It's going to mix up everybody. Hilchos De'os. So, what does De'os mean? Let's just start from the beginning. What's the pshat in the word De'os? You know, De'ot.
Opinions?
So this is a book of opinions. The laws of opinions. Mindset. I mean, the whole book is called Sefer Hamada. Rambam's Sefer Hamada.
The Torah says.
Oh, so it could be a lashon chibur. Vayeda Adam es Chava Yishtoi. Somehow it's a lashon chibur. Or it could be even deeper than that. But that's one of the things that I want to answer here tonight. Is what is the lashon of Hilchos De'os? What does De'os mean? Kabbalah he biyadenu that whenever the Rambam says De'os, he means midos. So the Rambam means, he says it, and says it himself in Mar Nevuchim. where he talks about all the different words and the difference between this word and that word. So the Rambam Nevuchim says that Deos means mitos. Why doesn't he say mitos? I don't know. But he said, I think that's what we could be befarish. But I mean, he do the word mitos also because he says it a million times, the Rambam. But he says Deos means mitos. So like if you want to understand this set of halachas and Hilchos De'os, like Hilchos Yesodei Torah, Hilchos De'os is really Hilchos mitos, our mitos, not the mitos of Hashem. That's a different story. From there we learn, from the mitos Hashem, we learn how to have our mitos. But Hilchos De'os means our mitos, and therefore the Rambam says, Parak Rishon in the very beginning, just to translate, De'os harbe yesh l'chol echad ve'echad mibnei adam. People have a lot of different De'os. So again, it doesn't mean opinions. People have a lot of different character traits. Mizu mishuna mizu, everybody's a little bit different. Rechoika mimeno b'yoser. Yesh adam shu bal chema koyes tamid. Some people are just like angry people. That's their character. Yesh adam shadai to miyushevas alav. Some people just are very calm people. They're born that way. Like some people, I mean, everybody has their nesayim, but some people are just like angry people. It's not that they're bad people, but it's a midah. They have anger, and some people are very calm. Reinu koyes klal v'im klas, and if he ever gets upset, yichas kas mat b'kama shadam. Once every number of years, we'll get angry. I'm like that. V'yesh adam shu gava leiv b'yoser. There's some people are like a balgaiva, really think a lot about themselves. V'yeshu shval ruach on mine. Some people are very, shy or bashful or shval ruach. V'yeshu bal taivas leisis b'nafshe. V'hilach b'tavasei. Some people just have this ravenous desire for things. Bal taiva. It's a midah. V'yeshu tar guf b'yoser. And some people have tar guf. It's very interesting, by the way, just that the opposite of a bal taiva is a pure guf. Just interesting. Why is that so yesh bal v'yesh v'yisaba afilu dvar matim shaguf tzarech b'hem. He has such a tahara. I don't know why he calls it a tahara, that he's not even interested in the things that you need, like an ascetic type of a person. V'yesh bal nefesh rechava shloi tisma nafshe mikol mamin ha'olam. Some people need to have everything. Immerse kinin shenemar oyev kesef la yisba kesef v'yesh mekatzer shadaya afilu davar mat shlo yisapek loy v'la yurdoy v'lahasid kol tzarechai. Okay, different kinds of people. Yeshu masagev atzmei b'rov. Some people like to starve themselves and keep every penny for themselves, rather not have, just to keep the money. Eino eichel pruta mishalayel, but sar gadol, it's hard for him to spend money. V'yeshu ma'abed kol mamayne b'yadel. That's another midah. Some people are big spendthrifts, and some people are big spenders. Val drachim elu shar kol adeus. And this is how it is with everything. This is just a few examples. The Rambam says, Mahulal v'oinein kili v'shua achzari v'rachman rach leva v'amitzlev chol ki yotzeben. So we see one thing from here clearly, that when the Rambam says Deos, he means midos. That seems to be clear that that's what he means. I don't understand why he calls it Deos. That's what I'd like to explain. Now I want to focus, and I'm doing this. I'm not skipping, but I want to focus on Parak Sheni of Hilchos De'os, Halacha Vav, because I think that's going to explain to us the whole Indian of what De'os are, which is very, very important for us. But before I do that, I just want to show you, just as a hakdama, the Rambam Halacha Vav talks about Gneivas Da'as. So the Rambam, if you go out of order here, in Hilchos Mechira, where is it here? Yud Ches Aleph. The Rambam says, Osir l'ramai says pnei ha'adam b'mekach u'mimkar. It's halach in Hilchos Mechira that you're not allowed to fool people. Gneivas Da'as, and you're not allowed to do Gneivas Da'as. That's going to be a big part of what we're talking about here in the next few minutes, is Gneivas Da'as. Echad goyim ve'echad Yisrael b'davar zeh. This is an amazing thing, because even though there's a machlekes in the Gemara if Gezel Akum is aser or Gezel Akum is mutter, And the Rama says, okay, you can't do Gezelagim. Shulchan Aruch says Aser, by the way. Gezelagim is Aser. But it's still a machlokes and Tosakum, according to the Rama, B'diavad, when you're Shasat Chach, you're allowed to do Tosakum. By Gneivas Da'as, there's no Shaila. Gneivas Da'as is Aser by a Jew and by a Goy. Davar Nifla. That Gneivas Da'as is worse than Gneivas Mammon. In other words, even if you'll find a heter to rob, let's say, a non-Jew, there is no heter. But even if you'll find a heter, you're not going to find it by Gneivas Da'as. You can't fool them. That's Aser. Completely Aser. That's L'kul Alma, by the way.
It reflects badly on Jews.
Hmm?
It reflects badly on Yehudi.
You think that's the reason?
They're
also stealing their money, also. You don't have to do Gneivas Da'as. In fact, Gneivas Da'as, he doesn't even know maybe you're doing Gneivas Da'as.
You can't trust it.
Okay. But it's an interesting thing. However you want to touch it up, it's very interesting. Gneivas Da'as is more chamor than Gneivas Mammon. You can think of your whatever story. For instance, says the Rambam, let's say you know that you're selling something, you know it's a second, you know there's a flaw in it, but the person's not going to notice this flaw. You're never going to notice the flaw. Nevertheless, you have to tell the person. A Jew, a Gentile, those are also Jews. Not just Goy, also Jews. In other words, when you're selling something, if there's something wrong with it, this is extremely important, by the way, that we have to be very, like if you're in business or any kind of Gneivas Da'as, it's like so important. I'm going to explain to you that it's an Isser Deraisa to do Gneivas Da'as. Machlokes in Chul and Tzadik Aleph, what the Isser is it like Signav? Is there different Issurim? But whatever it is, it's an Isser Deraisa, more chamer than Gneivas Mammon, which none of us would think of doing Gneivas Mammon. Va'afilu lignav das habrios b'tvarim aser. So lignav das habrios means like if I'm fooling, like if I'm saying things to make myself look a certain way, that's Gneivas das habrios. I'm trying to put myself forth in a certain way, and that's not really the way I am. So that's aser. All of that is Isser Deraisa. That's what the Rambam says at Hilchos Mechira. Courts and Sharp, very, very clear Rambam. Here in Hilchos De'os, he goes on with this more. It's interesting in Hilchos De'os, by the way, in Hilchos De'os, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you look through Hilchos De'os, he doesn't say any halachas. He's more describing midos. So he doesn't say so much aser, aser. But here in halacha vav, aser, this is an actual isser halacha. Rambam says, aser la adam lahanig atzmai b'divrei chalkus or chalakos upitui. You're not allowed to. So this, the Mepharshim say, what he means by this is you're not allowed to do chanifa. Chanifa means when you're saying something, when you're saying something nice to a person. Oh, you're such a wonderful person. You're very, like you're buttering them up. That's chanifa. So that goes into this also, because it's not real. Upitui, you're just trying to get somebody to you're seducing somebody to close a deal or to make a deal. So you're a salesman. Basically, you're a salesman, right? Aser. And this is a very nice arichus on this Rambam, which we need to explain why here he's marich. Person should never be different with what they say than what they're thinking. The Gemara says in Brachos it was hard to find somebody that was toichai kabara. But that's what everybody has to be, toichai kabara. Your inside is the same as your outside. As you're projecting yourself, as you're speaking, as you're saying what you want to say, it should match what you're feeling inside. There should not be that division at all. Toichai kabara, va'inyan shibalev hu adavar shibapeh. Whatever you have in your lave, that's what you should have in your mouth. Va'asir lignav das habriyos, says the Rambam, afilu das goy. Clear. Ketzat. And here he gives some examples, which are, by the way, all brought in Shulchan Aruch. Asir lignav das habriyos. Ketzat. La yimkar lagoy basar nevela b'chlal shchuta. It's a fantastic example. It probably happens. You have a kosher butcher shop, and you have something which is not kosher. Somehow you got something that's not kosher. A guy walks in and says, can I have a kilo of corned beef? So he doesn't care, nor should he care, nor is it usher for him in any way to have treif stuff. But you're not allowed to sell to him like that. You have to tell him, I have some stuff, but it's not kosher. or don't sell it to someone else. He's coming into your store thinking he's getting kosher. You're not allowed to crawl into his mind and say, this is what matters, this is what doesn't matter. You're not allowed to sell him treif if he's coming to buy kosher. Look how let's say a piece of leather, a shoe. So the klal of it is, Gemara says in a few places that leather from an animal which was shechted is a better leather than one that died naturally. Why? Because it was healthy. It was a healthy animal. So since it was a healthy animal, when you shechted it, it was not healthy, you're not allowed to shecht it. So since it was a healthy animal, so the leather is a better quality leather. So maybe this guy, even a non-Jew, he doesn't say non-Jew, but even a non-Jew is going to come into a Jewish shoe store. He's like, oh, probably they have better leather over there. But whatever it is, you can't sell a product and shine it up so it looks like a different product. Asur gomer. And you're not allowed to pressure somebody. Like you can't invite somebody or pressure somebody to I really want you to come. I really want you to come eat in my house. I really want you to be in my house. But you know he's not going to come. You know he's not going to come. So you figure you may as well ask him a lot of times. You may as well pressure him because you know he's not going to come. That's an Isser D'Oraisa. Isser D'Oraisa. See, in Shul a few weeks ago, I was talking about like Hachnasas Orchim. It seemed to fall through the cracks. So I said to somebody, did you ever invite somebody on like Friday night? So he said, no, it never does. I said, why not? So he says, what if they say yes? So you could argue like why not? I mean, you're making somebody feel good. You're giving them kavod. Oh, I wish you could come to my house. But it's the problem with it is it's echad bepev, echad belev. You're not allowed to do that. That's Gneivas Da'as. You keep on trying to make him close. You know he's not makabel. You're not allowed to give somebody gifts if you know they're not going to accept a gift. Not allowed. You're not allowed to yiftach like chaviyos. You have to think of modern day examples to this. Right? So somebody comes, I'm going to open up a special bottle of wine for you, but you were going to open it up anyway. Or you have an old time liquor store with wine. You have barrels. I was going to open the barrel. I wasn't going to open a barrel, but you're here. I'm opening the barrel. But if it's not true, this is all brought in Shulchan Aruch, by the way. It's not just a Chomer of the Rambam. Everything. V'chein kol kiyotze b'zeh, afilu mila acha shel pitui v'shel Gneivas Da'as asura. Ella, sfas emes v'ruach nochain v'leiv tahar mikol amal v'havos. Person has to have truthful lips, ruach nochain, leiv tahar mikol amal v'havos, which we were. What does it mean? Mikol amal means shtick, no shtick. Havos, David showed me, the pasuk in Tillim Perek Hey. Havos means what does it mean? The pasuk in Tillim. What does it mean?
It means just trying to do stuff without
like empty. So I thought you said the pshat was that it's like hoiva. The avar is full and the asad is full, but the hoiva is empty.
It's always working for nothing.
It's an interesting word. It's in Tillim. I don't know where David HaMelech got his vocabulary. I really don't understand. Like, how did he when he made up words? Havos. I don't even know what's the shorish of that word. What do you say, Chai? What's Amal? It says in Bilam. Like Amal be Yisrael. What do you think? What's the reason?
You're not causing anything bad, and nothing really is.
Right, you're not doing any damage. You're not doing any damage. Right. In fact, you're doing good. You're making somebody feel good. Okay, so what's wrong with that? In other words, I mean, let's think deeply for a few minutes. Like, what's wrong with this sheker? If the point of the sheker is, or chanifus, like, if you're a fundraiser, you do chanifus. I mean, in other words, chanifus is something that's a technique. If you're a salesman, you do chanifus, no? You know what salespeople do? So you're damaging yourself because of regilus, you mean? Because you're developing a bad habit? Is that an Isser Deraisa? I mean, would that be an Isser Deraisa?
It's adding pollution to the world. It's
Sheker.
You're not emes within yourself. You're hurting yourself, like you're saying. Something wrong with you.
On a very practical level, when you lie, you are making a false creation, and people will act on that false representation, in which case their ability to act in the world...
You're saying too deep for me. What does that mean?
If I lie to you and I tell you how I'm feeling...
What?
If I lie to you
Yeah.
about who I am and how I'm feeling, you will then act to me based off that false reality.
Mm-hmm.
Thereby, it's not just I'm telling a lie. I'm creating in you a false creation, a false reality.
Okay, so a guy comes into my store, and I tell him this is Busser. I don't tell him anything. He's coming into my store. It's a kosher store. And I'm saying, good, I can finally get rid of some of the treif I have. Doesn't even have to be meat, anything. I can't sell this stuff. It's got the wrong hechsher on it. So I give it to the guy.
That's the perfect example. Because he will then take that and give it to his Jewish workers.
Oh, you think it's a gzeira? You mean that's Yisr D'Oraisa? This thing is driving me crazy.
In good faith on your bad information. And thereby he cannot...
I don't feel like, you might be right, I just don't feel that should make it into an Isser D'Oraisa.
It doesn't with like opening the bottle of wine and to say, yeah, I'm opening a new bottle of wine for you. Well, what's
because I then think you think something about me that you don't. You're creating a false reality.
Okay.
That don't work.
Is that he's not tova to you because
I will then make sure I open up a nice bottle of wine for you because I know who you are.
You know what gets me? What gets me is the example of the non-Jew coming into a butcher store. He really doesn't care. He really doesn't care. No, he doesn't. Maybe he does, but maybe he doesn't.
Well, the example is, I think a better example would be like if you're telling somebody that, oh, you're a great singer, and you tell them that over and over again, you're such a great singer.
He might sing.
But he's a really horrible singer. They'll go on American Idol or something like that, and all of a sudden they're going to put him down. And this person's been building his whole life around the fact that his parents told him the whole life he's a great singer.
I'm makabel everything everybody's saying. I just have a feeling that. Tell me if you agree with me. I have a feeling that the real shot here is not because anything. Not because maybe he'll think this, or maybe he's going to go sing, or maybe he's going to give my wine my meat to a Jew because I bought it from a kosher place. I don't think it's those are all gzeiros. They don't feel like such an Isser D'Oraisa. Isser D'Oraisa is Asher B'Atzim. What about lying to yourself? How's that? Is that worse or better? Gneivas Da'as.
we do that to ourselves all the time, but that's like not conscious.
Yeah.
Lying to your wife.
That's different.
You're on camera. No, it's not working.
It's very interesting with all the terrible things about. So you have Geneva, and then you have Gneivas Da'as, which is worse. But and of course Sheker is somehow or another. Chazal say that for Shalom you're allowed to lie.
For the Sham, not like a
Kalana v'chasuda.
That's po v'sham, not like a shita. It's like this is your shalom bayis. It's like lie through my marriage.
How do you know that?
I don't know. That's how I understood it up until today.
Kalana v'chasuda. So Hillel says, right? Beis Hillel said Kalana v'chasuda, that you're allowed to tell somebody has a beautiful kala even if he doesn't have a beautiful kala. You're lying through your teeth. Like she's really ugly.
That's a matter of perception, though.
So don't say anything. For you, it's a lie.
Right.
But that's mutter. That's interesting. That's mutter. With everything we've said, that's somehow mutter. And from there, the Gemara says for darchei shalom, for shalom, you are allowed to lie sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
What?
It's encouraged. Ultimately, the first person should be more of the dasim of brios. It's encouraged.
And therefore, what? You should what? Compliment people.
Yeah.
I would think it's a good thing to compliment people, even if it's sheker, no? So by the way, in the Gemara, Tosfos says not like that. He says that you have to find something that's beautiful about her, right? That's what Tosfos says. You can't be completely sheker. I mean, it means her finger. Yeah.
Yaakov Avinu.
Yaakov Avinu was full. Yeah. Yeah.
The other day in Kedusha,
You're already saying Yaakov Avinu.
the other day in Kedusha we learned that you say you're a Levi and you're a Kohen, or vice versa, and to a woman, to the Kadeshes here. The Kadeshes is not that. It's very
If he says Almanas.
Oh, but you can say whatever you want because it's not
Recording.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
It's not recording. It seems like there are like two dinim going on here. Because he starts with lo yeh for the light.
So what?
Lo yeh for the light. So, just an analogy would be like Sukka, where like you give of yourself, that's one part of it. And someone else benefits.
And someone else?
Benefits.
Yeah.
So here, he's saying, if you're after the lamb, that intrinsically is bad.
So what are the two dinim?
The two dinim is harming someone else,
And even if you're not. Oh. So there's a difference between Hilchos Mechira. This is really what I wanted to bring out. Is that these two dinim, as you're saying very well, is the difference between do you want a chair? Yeah, but do you want? Hi, Hilchos, you want a chair? Yeah, a chair. There's a difference between Hilchos Mechira and Hilchos De'os. It's very interesting. The same halacha, but in Hilchos Mechira, he's talking about simply a case of where you're gypping somebody. You're here, it seems to be like, why is this in Hilchos De'os and why is he machmer on this? And that's why I skipped to Perek Beis, because I want to show what Hilchos De'os is all about. Here, and it's an Isser D'Oraisa, he's not talking about anything less than an Isser D'Oraisa, but what he is saying is that it's not just a question of like you're not honest in business. That's not all it is. What it is you're not honest. In other words, you're echad, but you're disconnected. Your lave and your peh are disconnected. That seems to be a chasar in Hilchos De'os. A chasar in Hilchos Mechira is like there's something wrong with my kinyanim or something. I'm saying it's one thing, it's another thing. So there's no smichas das for a kinyan. How do you have a kinyan? Or like you say, kedushin, almanas. By the way, like when I years ago, like I was working in shul with a lot of Holocaust survivors. A lot of them said they're Kohanim even though they're not.
Like me.
Huh?
Like me, I'm a Levi.
Levi. I have a son who wants to be a Levi.
Why stop there?
They would say they're Kohanim. Not even so bad, because they would come to shul, like, is there a kohen here? Nobody was a kohen. Okay, I'll be a kohen. It was like starting a new life, you know. A better who wants to be a bimkom. Wants to be a bimkom.
But I can make a distinction between the case of making shalom, being Hoshana Rabah shalom, and all these cases of Gneivas Da'as. That in the cases of Gneivas Da'as, you standing to benefit. You've got a benefiting the thing, an interest in this thing that, you know, if I'm opening the bottle now, you're going to think more of me, and then when I come to you, you open a nice bottle of wine for me. That's dishonest. There's something krum about that. But when like Aaron a Cohen is going around this one and saying he really wants.
Yeah, what's up with him?
But he's not getting any kavod out of this.
He did in the very end. He got a lot of kavod out of it.
Okay, but he wasn't doing it for kavod.
Right, but in the end he did, because all the children were
The Aharonim. But he didn't do it for kavod. He did it to make shalom bayis.
Because he wanted
shalom. For shalom bayis, and he still got the kavod for it.
But he wasn't doing it for the kavod.
Are you explaining why shalom makes it mutter?
Yes.
Why?
Why shalom is...
Think about what Rabbi Yisrael said before. In other words, like it's a din b'fnei atzma. You have to be straight. You have to be honest. So if it's for shalom,
he's still being straight. He's not misrepresenting himself. He's not trying to make out that he's something better than he really is, or that he's got a better relationship with you than he really does. But what he's trying to do something that's going to benefit you and benefit the other person. Nobody loses.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
All the way around. You're saying a big heter.
Once you can make cheshbonis like that, like whenever it's over.
It goes the same thing with the wine.
No, but that's a big cheshbon. It's not just shalom. Whenever it's like.
The what's the difference with the wine, though? The person gets the benefit of thinking that he got a brand new bottle of wine, and then he opens for you a brand new bottle of wine. He still has the feeling.
100%. Listen, I want to tell you something. I'm going to go further. But Kishanila asked me if I wouldn't, Umalai Kasuf, if I wouldn't say this, I would tell people, if this wouldn't be the halacha, I would tell people, Badafka, tell him you opened up a wine special for him. Make the guy feel good. Give them kavod, if some people say to me from time to time, or the examples of people say, it was so nice of you to think of me, what I always say, I wasn't thinking of you. It just happened to work out like that. Make the guy feel good. Like, you make it's to me, it's always so schwach when you, like, if you can make somebody feel like $1 million, that's a beautiful thing. So I understand in business, be so careful in business, for sure. In business you have to be careful, but this is like beyond. But yet it's a Rambam Hilchos De'os. It says in Shulchan Aruch. Agav, I just wanted to mention in Shulchan Aruch this is brought while we're here, because who knows when we'll get to this halacha again. Shulchan Aruch is in Choshen Mishpat. It's the same thing as the Rambam. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Asher l'ramos b'nei adam b'mekach u'b'mimkar o lignoiv datam kegoinim yesh mum b'michai tzarech lo'idiyah l'leikeach. Whenever there's a mum, you have to tell them. It's an important thing. I'm hesitant to say a used car salesman because deals with used car salesman. But you know what I mean. Like there's this like idea of when. I sold a car, so you go into the mechanic and you go to the guy and you have it all polished up and everything. So I don't know I tell him like I probably did actually. This one's had a little accident here, one's had a little accident there. Makes an afkamina. Like I would think Baharaya people go and they look into the whole record of the car and they see. So you have a chiyuv if you know something, you have to say. I'm just saying, like this is not the original this and this is not the, like you have to say. But here he says, "Ba'afim huakum layimkar laybasar nevela b'cheska shchuta, ba'af lignav das habrius v'dvarim shemar shoyser b'shvila v'eino oyser. Ketzad lo yisarev b'chaveroi," and here it changes the lashon, by the way, from lo yisarev, I think the Rambam said, no? Mm-hmm. And here it says lo yisarhev. Yud samach reish hey beis. What does that mean?
Why would the guy prefer? Why would it make a difference in which meat it is?
Thinks it's healthier. I think even if it makes no difference, I think even if you would ask him and say, I don't care, I'm not Jewish, you're still not allowed to do it. You still have to tell him. I think.
What's the chiluk between?
When I'm learning the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch, what I'm understanding is, even if it makes absolutely no difference, you have to tell him. It's a. I have to be emistic.
What's the chiluk between Gneivas Da'as and just regular lying?
So Gneivas Da'as, first of all, is even if you're not lying.
Fine.
You're giving an impression.
This for
You're giving an impression. I'm giving you an impression that I like you, and I really don't.
So you're lying.
I'm not saying anything. Dvar sheker tirchak is a lie. It's only one example.
It's a perception.
How do you do that without saying anything?
No,
but you're telling him it's a brand new bottle of wine. You're lying. Or I'm doing it for you.
You're giving him the meat that you can't sell. He's a guy.
He assumes it's something, and you're
just going against his assumption. But again, I just want to keep saying the same thing over and over again. I don't think it's because maybe this or maybe that. I think be'etzem it's usher, and we need to understand why. That's what I think. But lo yisrahev, anybody know what that word means? Here it says yisrahev. Yud samach reish hey beis. So the Shema says yisrahev b'chaveroi. He changes the lashon. What? Insist, like you pressure somebody. So lo yisrahev b'chaver she'yisad imay. You're inviting somebody over and you're pressuring him. So the Shema says that you see from this lashon Yisrael that you're allowed to invite somebody. This was a chiddush in the Shema that he brings from the Bach, that you're allowed to invite somebody even though you know he's not going to come, but you can't make a big deal about it. It seems so. There's a shtickle heter for people to make people feel good, but don't overdo it. But the Pashat of Shad is without the Shema, according to the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam. If you know somebody, it's not a lie. I say, I'd love for you to come over when you wouldn't. You just know he's not going to eat in your house or something.
I have a question. I have a friend that for 5 years straight, I invited them every Shabbos to come for Shabbos. They always refuse, until he finally didn't refuse. Does that goes to the same thing? I wanted him to come.
No, as long as you're sincere. As long as you're sincere. So the big word here is sincerity. No? Sincerity.
What's the machaya to tell somebody that you're giving them a gift? Sort of like a video? Is it some idea that you're creating some sort of...
I think because you make a kesher. So why lose the opportunity to make a kesher? Here's a different opposite case. Why? What do you think?
There's a certain reality that you're giving him a gift and he doesn't know where it came from. Like
you were saying, he's creating a new reality.
Yeah. Here you're making somebody thinking you're making somebody think you're giving him a gift. You're not really giving him a gift.
I was just the opposite. If you're giving a gift and you don't tell him that you gave him a gift, he doesn't think higher of you.
You should just keep it a secret.
Yeah.
By tzedakah, it doesn't say that. That's strictly a matana. Okay, let's examine it. So let me show you something. Let's try to understand why, of all the halachas, by the way, there's a lot of halachas about el-chaveri. For instance, you're not allowed to be mazik somebody. Simple halacha, you're not allowed to go and break somebody's windshield or something like that. That's not brought down in Hilchos De'os. There's a lot of things you're not allowed to embarrass somebody in public. That's not brought down in Hilchos De'os, as far as I know. It's very interesting that the Rambam in Hilchos De'os brought dafka the halacha of Gneivas Da'as. So besides for the halach, we're learning the halachas of Gneivas Da'as. But what I'm trying to understand is why did the Rambam bring Gneivas Da'as in Hilchos De'os, and he brought it with a much bigger arichas, which seems to be a new halacha than he brought in Hilchos Mechira. Yeah. Kehillat Da'as. Very good.
And Rabbah and Marnavufin, they say what's so bad about Kehillat Da'as? After that, everything turned into Tov and Ra. Everything was mixed up. You can take Svara and make something good, with Sheker. Make it with MS and make it with Ben.
With Das.
Using Das. So maybe what we're talking about, the reason maybe it's such a yesod, the Raisa, it's not about is it good, it's bad, or is it can be it's a Gzeira Shema, but any deviation from MS is what we want to stay away from. And all these things are deviating from emes. We want to come back to emes.
Good. So let me come to this. It's a das. Well, let me just show you something. From Shari Tshuva I found, Rabbi Yaacov. He says as follows. This is in Shar Gimel. You have it there, I think. Shar Gimel Kuf Pei Dalet. There's a whole bunch of Gneivas Da'as halachas, but at the end he says like this. Hachelak hashvi mishamates chaveroi. Now it occurred to me, you're not allowed to fool someone. That's a lot of what the Rambam, even if it's not business, you're not supposed to fool somebody. That's a lot of what it says in Hilchos De'os, which it doesn't say in Hilchos Mechira. Like just fooling somebody, you're not allowed to fool somebody. Mishamates chaver leimar ki asi my toiva. You make somebody think you did them a toiva. Or you spoke well about him and v'loyasa. Amar Rabbi Seinu Zichronam Levracha. He brings the Gemara in Chulin. Asir lignaiv das habriyos va'afilu das nachri. So that's our working chazal here, right? Mehine says the Rabbi Yaacov adds as follows: Hachet hazeh chamor etzel chachmei Yisrael yoser migezel nachri. I was learning the Rambam and I had this ha'ara, and then I see Rabbi Yaacov says it before that you see. I mean, it's obvious, but he spells it out that you see that Gneivas Da'as is worse than Gneivas Mammon. Why? Yanu b'yan kisfa sheker ashma Rabbah, because you're lying. Nischayavnu rather al gidrei ha'emes. We have a big chiyuv to be emestic. Here's the main words I want to share with you. Kihu miyisoidei hanefesh. Why do you have to be so emestic? Why? Why do you have to be so emestic? So the answer is, says Rabbi Yaacov, he adds these 4 words. Kihu miyisoidei hanefesh. They're fantastic words. What do they mean? Ki hu miyisaydei hanefesh. What do you think?
Sounds like it goes along with it. If you're not going by that way, you're destroying your own nefesh. You're actually taking it down.
Ki hu miyisaydei hanefesh.
Fundamental.
It's the fundamental part of the soul. You're breaking.
Is that what you were going to say? Fundamental part of the soul.
But you're breaking it by doing this. Is what it's
Not fundamental.
It actually has the effect it has on yourself.
So now you're tight. I'm just saying, what is his words? I mean, yisaydei hanefesh. It's foundational.
The essence of an nefesh.
So what does that mean to you, Chaim? Why is it so bad to lie, and why is it worse than everything else? And I feel Gneivas Da'as is worse than Gezel.
Being is to use our rope and our and speak properly.
So look what's going on here. Let's just make clear. If you go and you throw a rock through somebody's window, that's an avera. Isser mazik. It's an avera, and you have to pay for it. That's a terrible thing, and B'nai Torah should not do such things. But that's not anywhere near as bad as Gneivas Da'as, as selling him a tray for chicken when he thinks it's kosher, even if he's a guy. Why? So somehow or another, I'm assuming this is correct what I'm saying. Somehow or another, to be mazik someone is terrible. You shouldn't do that. But it's not miyisaydei hanefesh.
Maybe he's just saying.
One second. It's not miyisaydei hanefesh. Whereas if I'm fooling someone, then it's something. I'm violating my own nefesh here. I'm violating something foundational in nefesh. You're emphasizing, Chaim, the dibur. It doesn't even require dibur. It doesn't even require dibur. So what does it? What is it?
A monkey can break your car window. A monkey cannot do Gneivas Da'as.
Two. Do you know that as a fact?
Is it about being naive to someone else or yourself?
I think it's even yourself.
You're fooling yourself.
The whole isn't the.
You're definitely fooling yourself.
It's just saying being honest or dishonest is a personality trait. It's not something you do. It's who you are. If you're an honest person or you're not an honest person,
in Olam HaSheker, it seems that almost everything that we're required to do on some level is requiring us to see through some falsehood, some veil, something or other. So then this MS is.
What are you saying? Just say clearly.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Me either.
I feel like honest.
At least you're being honest.
I don't know if I can articulate it better than that.
What do you say? I just want to understand what that means. Kihu, the sheker. Let's just develop this because it's very important. It's not musar. It's a halacha in Hilchos De'os, right? It's a halacha in Hilchos Mechira. That the reason why Gneivas Da'as is worse than Gezel, which is actually money, is because this is, says the Shari Tshuva, this is miyisaydei hanefesh. Something. So first of all, why is this miyisaydei hanefesh? And second of all, why is yisaydei hanefesh something? I don't even know what it means. But what is it? What is it worse? Yeah. Okay. Eitz hadas.
We had a chat at the table. We're talking about lying. We asked who's the worst person you could lie to. Like, what's the worst lie you could tell? The worst. So one of the kids at the table said to lie to yourself. So my daughter says.
It's obviously the answer you were looking for. Well, that's the answer you were looking for.
How could you lie to yourself? She couldn't even understand how you could lie to yourself. My father also talks about the idea that a baby cries. The baby doesn't lie. Children learn to lie. It's a developmental stage.
We teach them that. You know?
We teach them how to lie. They learn that they get different consequences when they tell the truth. So it's better to distort the truth and to present things differently. But a baby is not born lying. So they have that. I think means it's like you're messing up the software.
So here I'll quote Ramosha Shapiro. He said that raising his kids, he never punished them unless they lied. People do things right, people do things wrong. You have to be machanach.
How'd they turn out?
But they're all good. Never punished a kid. I don't know what his punishment was already. All he had to do was look at them. He was just look. But why? Why? Because of miyisaydei hanefesh. But I just we're trying to understand clearly. Come out of here tonight clearly.
I would say two things again. What Chaim was saying, that is the targum of nefesh chaya.
Nefesh chaya.
So that's nefesh.
But you don't have to speak to be over Gneivas.
I understand. It's an example. But what separates us from animals,
That's what Gil says. A koif can't do Gneivas Da'as.
and
You got to be.
Probably doesn't get hurt as much as you. You're going through his life. So not only are you taking away from your own humanity,
So I'm loving these words. Taking away from your own humanity. These are the right words. Yesodei hanefesh. I want to, yeah.
It's right in beautifully with Rabbah. At the end of Mother, Hilchos Tshuva, he talks about Rabbah, and he talks your ability to gain on Rabbah is based off your ability to love the truth. And he circles you right back to Hilchos Yesodei Torah, which is the know Hashem. And if everything's based off this idea.
So so you're right with me. So the Rambam starts off by saying.
You have the Rabban Shalom when Sarah said Adoni Zaken, right? The Rabban Shalom turned around the world and said that she said Adi Sakina, and you see the Rabban Shalom turned the words around from what Sarah said. Isn't that how do you say that the Rabban Shalom said that?
So we said for Shalom you're allowed to, which is a pliyat summa. If you're violating Yesodei HaNefesh, which we're saying means that you're giving up you're violating your own humanity. How did you say? You said it so well, Yisrael. What did you say? You're violating your humanity. So Shalom. How does Shalom Bayis help?
Maybe that is part of humanity. Yeah. You're against something, but it's really for a higher purpose.
It's showing you're caring.
So once you start dealing with that,
like in other areas that there's different level in the Olam HaSelyonos is different immerse that in this world looks like a sheker, but there's an immerse.
It doesn't mean that I don't know.
More broad.
So therefore what?
So therefore, so we can answer things like what Avram was saying, or Yaakov Avinu. They saw
a higher immerse.
Which
so Shalom Bayis is like a higher immerse, you're saying.
Well, you had the Shvatim say that Yaakov said not to kill it, not to do anything to us. That wasn't that was self-protection.
So you have in front of you, just want to, this is a famous Rav Chaim Vital. I was thinking something today just while we're here. Rav Chaim Vital doesn't get enough credit because we always think Rav Chaim Vital was like the speaker of the Matargim of the Arizal. Rav Chaim Vital said so much. He was a gadol. He was a gadol ador. Chaim Vital. He was also a Talmud of the Arizal. One of the reasons they knew the Arizal was so big was because Arizal, I don't know anybody personally. I can't think of it. I can't understand the greatness of the Arizal. It's like so great. Like he knew everything about everything, and it's full. I mean, it's just like an amazing thing. He only was 30 years old or something. At all of the Gilui of the Arizal, he was like a nister until he was 30, and then he died at 36, I think. So the whole thing was a 6-year thing. And Reb Chaim Vital said this is a Gilui from like Har Sinai, what we have here, like a nevuah, almost. Anyways, that's the Reb Chaim Vital asked a famous question. This is pretty famous, but I want to learn it inside with you. Reb Chaim Vital asked the question of if midos tovos are so important, not to lose your temper, not to be a balgaiva, if they're so important, why aren't they written in the Torah? Why are they not written in the Torah? Important things should be written in Torah. It should be mitzvahs. It should be Taryag mitzvahs. Part of the whole thing should be to have midos tovos. So says Reb Chaim, let's learn it together. I think this helps us. Hein mutbayis ba'adam benefesh hashefela hanikres yisoidis.
What number?
Number 6. One more time. Hine inyanam midos hein mutbayis ba'adam benefesh hashefela hanikres yisoidis. Don't forget the words of the church of Haklula me'arba bechinois. Okay, it was a makubal. Okay, everything in this world falls into one of these categories. Either it's like domain, like a rock, or it's a meach, like a vegetable, or like a behemoth, or a person. A person can speak. Those are the 4 levels of creation, and that's yesodistic. Kigam hein merkaves mitoy vera. It's everything you just said. V'hine benefesh hazet tluyos hamidos hatoivos. Midas hatoivos. Let me add my commentary here. Taryag mitzvahs, this is really what Yossi said, Taryag mitzvahs has to do with what you do. Yesodus HaNefesh has to do with what you are. It's so important for us to think about who we are. It's important for us to think about what we do. What we do is important. But what we are, this gets into the whole lying to yourself and all that, but it's deeper than that. In other words, there's, it's like you are who you are when you forget what you learned. We should never know what it is to forget what we learned. But, well, I always tell over the story of Rav Soloveitchik at the end of his life, towards the end of his life, Shalom, so his mind, he couldn't say Kiddush, his mind didn't work. The greatest mind in the generation, and his mind didn't work. He couldn't recognize, he couldn't do anything. And his daughter came to visit him. His daughter told the story. His daughter came to visit Rebbetzin, Rav Aaron Lichtenstein's wife. Right. She came to visit him, and he said to her, I don't know who you are, but I can tell you're a Bas Talmud Chacham. Yeah. What a thing! Like, meaning, like, there's something. This is what I'm trying to figure out. There's something which goes lamala min hayudiya. There's something that goes lamala min mitzvahs, lamala min asiya. There's something that goes, and I could do all the most wonderful things in the world, but there's something lamala mizeh. And what's lamala mizeh is, in his case, midos tovos. Because midos tovos, miyusoidei hanefesh, that doesn't have to do with what you do. Of course, it manifests itself in what you do, but midos tovos has to do with what you are. That's what he's explaining. What you are is not written in the Torah. There's stuff that's not written in the Torah. So they say, like the Chafetz Chaim said, they asked him, why doesn't it say midos in the Torah? So he said, that would be like, that was Chafetz Chaim in his kind of goyness. He said, that would be like calling a carpenter to your house and tell him, don't forget to bring a saw. Don't forget to bring a hammer. Don't forget to bring a nail. He's a carpenter. So if we're standing at Har Sinai and we're getting the Torah, you don't have to tell people that midas tovos. If they don't have midas tovos, they wouldn't be there, which I want to explain. They wouldn't be there. So this is something which is lamala from the world of Asiya. This has to do with who we are. With Behine.
What does it have to do with, you read in the beginning that the Rambam says some person is a kasai, some person is not the opposite.
Those are not midos, even though I said they're midos, they're deos. And deos, in my opinion, I'm just going to skip to this and say right now, spill the beans. Deos means that it's miyasodei hanefesh. That's what it means.
It could be different for each person.
Could be different. But another what you deos has
Midos
to do.
Deos?
No, I'm saying the word deos.
Temperament?
The first Rambam, the first words of the Rambam. No. Mitzvahs. What's the lesson here? First Rambam, Hilchos Yesodei Torah. Yesodos v'amud hachachmos leida sheyesh shem Hashem matzui rishon u'mamsi kol nimtza. So leida, we all say you have to know that there's Hashem. It's a funny word. You should believe, your mom, and that there's Hashem. What does that mean, leida? And the Mefarshim asks that once you know, then there's not even Bechira Chavshus in the thing. So, in the Kabbalah's form, they try to be Mefarish the Rambam according to the Kabbalah, which, whatever. So I say, okay, so he means to say that you should have a chibur with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayeda Adam eschava ishtay. I'm not arguing with anybody. I don't know enough to argue with anybody, but that's what they say. That he can't mean no. I think in Tanya it says like that before. That mitzvah leida as Hashem means to have this kind of involvement with HaKadosh Baruch Hu because he's the mamsi and he's the creator. Or it means Yisoidus v'amana chachmas leda, that your whole nefesh, the yisoid of your nefesh, has to be that Hashem is created the world. Meaning, it's not enough to know it. It's not enough to act like that. Why? Like a person could say, "Well, I'm going to do mitzvahs because I'm not going to take the gamble. Maybe it's correct that I shouldn't be Machal Shabbos, so I'm not going to take that chance. So what the heck? I'll just keep Shabbos, and that way I won't take a chance on any oynish." But that's not the yisoid. Yisoidus, like it can't work like that. It has to be like your whole yisodos hanefesh is all about Leda Hashem. As an example, wherever you see the Rambam use the word Leda, Ledati, I don't know every Rambam, but I think so. Wherever he used the word Sefer Hamada, Hilchos De'os, what he's referring to is such an intimate connection with it, because what he's describing to us is what we have to be, not what we have to do. It's a much bigger avodah, is it not? It's a much bigger avodah to be something than to do something. Chinuch is good to teach kids how to do. So that's what the Rambam says in Hilchos De'os. Everybody has to be tocho kibaro. So why is he saying these words? Tocho kibaro sounds like tocho kibaro.
Well, you always say from Haber that it's how much Torah goes through someone,
not how much Chavetz Chaim, not how much Torah you go through, how much it goes through you. But I'm saying here a much more daring thing. What I'm saying here is that this doesn't even get into the Torah. That's what Rav Chaim Vital is saying. This doesn't even get into the Torah. This is before the Torah.
But you're not born that way. You have to work on it somehow.
That's right. So allow me. Let's learn a little bit more inside. Yisoid ha-yisoidos v'amud ha-chachmas leida she'esh ha-matzah. What's a mitzvah? No. Oh, the Rambam in Sefer Mitzvah says a mitzvah. Yeah. Separate thing.
But it's a mitzvah. It's
two things. It's two things. Hilchos Mechira, Hilchos De'os. There's Yedias Hashem, which is a mitzvah. That's Yedias Hashem. That's Yedias Hashem. Leida, what the Rambam means here is to have that kind of like, it's part of who I am. It's not a stira. It's not a stira.
It's not Yisod. It's not talking about Yisod and Nefesh. Yedias Hashem.
No. That's something you do. Yedias Hashem is something you do. Leidas Hashem is something you are. I'll prove it to you.
Right, I think that's actually what the Alter Rebbe talks about that. It's like when he talks about the seed of man, it's like he compares it like a fruit, where the flavor of the fruit is not really the essence of the fruit. The essence is the actual seed, and then from there it grows into fruits. Just like a person does, the seed is actually the essence of the person, and it grows into, when you learn and have the wisdom and everything like that.
So what do you want to bring out? What are you saying? That there's an essence and then there's a fruit of the essence.
Right, and the fruit of the essence, or the flavorful side of it, is your
Chiddush here is that midos tovos, you would think like, okay, first let me do all the mitzvahs, and then I'll learn Musar and I'll get some midos tovos. I'll go to finishing school, right? The Welt calls it finishing school. That's not the beginning school. Here he's saying that it's Yisoidus and Nefesh. Why isn't it in the Torah? Because it's more than Torah. What's the word I'm looking for? It preempts the Torah.
It's a catch-22 because you need the Torah to get it.
No. The Avos didn't have the Torah.
How would you?
I'll get to it. No, you're all right. I just have to develop. Yan lefichach ein amidos machlal ataryag mitzvos. Look at the words here. You translate how you want. Lefichach ein amidos machlal ataryag mitzvos. Amnon hein achonos ikrios el taryag mitzvos. B'kiyuma noi b'bitulan yan kein koyach b'nefesh hasichlis l'kayim ha-mitzvos ayidei taryag evare haguf ela b'emsois nefesh ha-yisoidis hamchuberes el haguf atzmai b'soid. With the pasuk, ki nefesh kol basar dam moi b'nafshehu. Adam hu ha-nefesh. It doesn't mean. This is what the Balatanya is explaining over there. What he's explaining there is Adam hu ha-nefesh. It doesn't mean dam, the blood. That's also true, but there's a thing like this is what you are, this is who you are. Lefichach in midos harois kashin min ha'averos atzmam mimoid moed. So it comes out, midos rois, says Rav Chaim Vital, not only he's explaining to us why they're not in the Torah, but he's explaining that therefore midos rois are actually worse than averos. Bezat Tovin, this is the only way that you can understand Mashamar Chachamim, Shabbos Daf Kufay, the end of Shabbos, Kol HaKoyes Ki Ilu Oived Avodah Zarah Mamash. Shehi HaYoser Shkula Kechol HaTaryag HaMitzvos. The worst Aveira that you can do is being worshipping Avodah Zarah, and Kol HaKoyes Ki Ilu Oived Avodah Zarah. Come on. Ad Kedei Kach, that the Rishonim say it's a guzma. It's exaggeration. Can't be. He says, no, it's not exaggeration. Because the whole problem with Avodah Zarah is that maybe, or any kares, whatever, but the whole problem with Avodah Zarah is that it's violating the Yesodei HaNefesh. So koyes is worse. That's for sure violating who I am. I lose my temper. We don't understand why exactly, but it's clear. I'm going to explain it. It says in the Gemara in Saita, Mishiesh Boigasus Ruach, who kakoifer beikir. Roy Lagadoi Kashera, chop him down like an Avodah Zarah tree. It's about Gaiva. Cut him down. Cut him down. Meinafar Ninar, no Trias Hamesim, Kehillat Rabbis. Many Chazal, where you find things about Midas Rois, which are worse than about Averos. Tremendous Yesod. Since they are ikarim, the Yesodos, like nimnu b'chlal taryag hamitzvos hatluyos, b'nefesh hasichlis, b'nimsa ki yoser tzarich lizar mimidas harois yoser min kiyum hamitzvos, essay v'loisase, ki b'yosei bal midos tovos b'nakol yikayim kol hamitzvos. This is not it's not a Musar shmuz. He's telling us how to be Jewish here. What does it mean to be Jewish? So what it means to be, and this is the Rambam right at the beginning, Sefer Amada. What it means is that it's not something. I keep saying the same thing, but I want to. It's Yesodei HaNefesh means not something I do. It's like who I am inside. Who am I really? It's so hard to be in touch with that. I mean, I sound like some kind of new agey guy, but it is very hard to be in touch.
Well, it's just a Jewish thing.
It's not that it's just, I shouldn't say it's a Jewish thing. What it is we have the Gilui to know this is true.
From where? It's not on the Torah.
You keep asking the same thing. You don't have any patience. Patience. It's also Amida. Huh? You wouldn't know without the Torah that you're not supposed to be kohes.
There's a lot of things I know, but they might be
I'm
wrong.
asking you a question.
No.
I would. You wouldn't know you're not supposed to
I would know, but
fool people?
I wouldn't know
fool people?
I wouldn't know if I was right or wrong.
Yes, you would kill someone?
You would kill somebody?
Maybe. Maybe. We don't have morals without Torah. How are we supposed to know?
You are brainwashed completely. It's not true. It's not true. Decent people know. Decent people know that you don't lie.
No, so when we did Aliyah like 2 days ago, my daughter asked me something like on the way about people that are dressed not so new and like that. So I tried to explain to her. And as we were walking, I thought about it. I told her, like, Aliyah, you have to realize if you look at the people around you, what do they all have in common? They're all going to do Aliyah Lech. This is the essence of who we are. This is the essence of Judaism.
I agree 100%.
They look different on the outside.
That's a good answer.
But they're all going to the Kotel.
So you're telling your daughter, don't look at what they do, look at what they are.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Rebbe did with you when you were 13 and then saw you 30
yeah, I noticed
later.
it.
And you knew exactly who you were, right? You saw the essence.
I recently said a prophecy. You're not allowed to be kovesh nevuah, so I want to tell you my prophecy. It's Hoshana Rabah. that this whole problem, the right wing, left wing, Tel Aviv Dizengoff, it's going to be just like after the 6-Day War. There's going to be a Baal Tshuva movement like we never saw before here in Eretz Yisrael. It's my prophecy.
Can we start already?
First of all, we're here. You see, Jews, all kinds of different Jews. But you touch their Yom Kippur, you touch their Ne'ilah, everybody, whoa, it's too far. You're touching my Yesodei HaNefesh.
Well, that's what the Alter Rebbe says in the exact same place. He speaks about the...
Are you a shaliach or something?
Yeah, the same
Alter Rebbe over here. No, what I'm trying to say something here, that all of this stuff, that's a good example, because everything that we're seeing has to do with people do, and you know, I don't think that I don't want to talk politics here, but I don't think the Chilonim of Eretz Yisrael, they're not protesting, they're panicking. Mm-hmm. It's a panic. Yeah. But at the same time, like, if you what are you telling me? I can't be Jewish? I'm not allowed to go to Dizengoff and say Ne'ilah and listen to Tkiyah Shofar? Is that what you're telling me? I'm not part of that. Why aren't you part of it? And it has to be that everybody has to stop and think for a minute that I'm Jewish. And what you're Jewish, that's what you are. That's not what you do. And exactly as he says, it's not like dress this way, dress that way. Nebuch, you know, Tadik Shnishpa, Nebuch, they don't have a chinuch. Nebuch, they're even mardim in the Torah. I'm not saying there's not Rishoyim. There are. But like, if we're looking at the whole Baal Tshuva movement that I saw as a kid, the whole Baal Tshuva movement is when all of a sudden people realize, hey, wait a minute.
Who are the ones that are concerned about their Yom Kippurs, the people who...
The left wing kept on everybody there said, I'm not part of this. I don't want to be part. They went too far.
The ones who tore down the Mechitza went too far.
They went too far. Yeah. And today, this Rabbi D, davening in Dizengoff, and the people were pushing him around, and he got up to the news. He said it was 10 people. What are you making such a big deal about it? Maybe 15.
You had the same thing in Bnei Brak, where the Haredim started singing a song, and it touched the guy's heart. He started crying.
That's right.
He remembered his father.
So first of all, like,
essence.
It's not. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I'm quoting the news, but don't watch them. Don't listen to the news. No, because the news is just it's just what to get your attention. It's not the reality of it. It's not the reality of the situation. B'chlal, like, you know, like they'll tell you some kind of 10 people did something. All of a sudden, the whole country is a civil war. It's not true. It's simply not true. And more people went to the Kaisel in the last 2 days than went to all these demonstrations together. It was but that's not my. I'm not going into that. What I'm only saying is that Yiddishkeit, besides for being about what we do, it's also about what we are. But let's just finish this this last line. Nimsak hitzarach hiyoysetzarach lizar mimidas harois yoyser min akiyum hamitzvos asay v'loisasay kebi yoyser bal midas toivos benakol yikayim kol amid. This is the Yesod HaNefesh. When you have a Yesod, where does it come from? So let me introduce right. I have no idea. So let me open up your minds to something, a lamdisha thing, so to speak. There's the bris avos, and there's the bris Sinai. There's what do we want from the avos? Big machlokes in the Rishonim. They kept the Torah, but ein lemedin mikoyim matan Torah. You're not allowed to learn anything from them. Mikoyim matan Torah. Maybe they did keep the Torah. Maybe they didn't keep the Torah. You see, Yaakov married 2 sisters. You see, Avram Avinu gave out meat, basar, v'cholov together. They did. They didn't really keep the Torah. I mean, some things they kept. So what they keep, what didn't they keep? What they keep, what didn't they keep? But my question is even deeper than that. Like, what do we want from the Avos? What do we have with the Sefer Bereshis? Like Rashi says, start the Torah with a Chodesh HaZalachem. The main thing is the Taryag Mitzvahs. You get the Taryag Mitzvahs, and now we know what to do and what we shouldn't do, how to be a Ben Olam Haba, how to be a good Jew, whatever. However you want to touch it up. I want to keep the Taryag Mitzvahs. I want to build the Beis HaMikdash. I want to bring Korbanos. I want to make sure I don't do any Chet. I want to make sure I don't need on Yom Kippur. What do we need Sefer Bereshis for? What are we getting from it? Zok Gemara. Oh, you know why you need it? Because Derech Eretz Kadmon LaTorah. It's a psikta. Because Derech Eretz Kadmon LaTorah. So what are we learning from the Avos? Derech Eretz. Now we know a beautiful story about Avram Avinu. He discovered Hashem. Okay, it doesn't say that in the Chumash. What it says in the Chumash is that he had a tent and he opened it up to all sides, and everybody loved him, and he was a big Baal Chesed. And he gave it over to his children. The Rambam says he gave it over to the Iker of the Avos is the Yesodei HaNefesh, Yair, you said why Jews? Because Jews not because the Goyim didn't follow Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. That's why. Of course, it's for everybody. But the difference is that Avram Avinu taught Yitzchak, and he taught a whole generation. We don't know what happened to those people, but they didn't stick with it. Yitzchak taught Yaakov. We became the whole story of Mechiras Yosef and the whole story of Yaakov and Esav, Mechiras Yosef, that we went to Mitzrayim, that we were Avodim in Mitzrayim. We didn't have any Torah, we didn't have any mitzvahs. But we were Jews. Isn't it an amazing thing? There was no Har Sinai.
No, but if you don't have Jewish traits,
you don't get there. You don't get there. You got lost. So you
are born with it to an extent.
You're born with a neshama. Neshama knows what's right and what's wrong. We cover it so much with so many layers and layers and layers that we could be mamish achzarius. A person is capable of achzarius. You could kill people in cold blood. I don't know. It's not that the person doesn't have a neshama. Covered. It's completely mechusa, and so much cognitive dissonance and so much junk that goes through your goes over your neshama. You're not in touch with your neshama. The whole gewalda is to be, but the whole avos. I think this is true. I think the whole avos is all about what we are, and then Hashem gave a bracha to Avram Avinu that your children, those that come from you, are going to stick with this, and Afal Pishachata Yisrael, who, if we stick with it, we stick with it, and as long as we have this, the whole Bereshis, the whole Mitzrayim, Avdus and Mitzrayim, all had to do. What did they hate us for? We didn't even do mitzvahs. It's a kasha, because the Gemara says Lama Nikar Shmai Har Sinai. Why is it called Har Sinai? Samach and a sin, maybe interchangeable, because it brought Sinah to the world. But there was Sinah before that. They hated us before that. They hated us in Mitzrayim already. So maybe it brought more Sinah into the world. Okay. So it's the correct way to look at it is, first, you have to be Jewish, which Reb Chaim Vital tells us this is Yisoidei HaNefesh. So let me explain it. Let me explain something to you. Maybe you don't realize. What was Avram Avinu's chap? Avram Avinu's chap was, he realized what a person is supposed to be. Look at the road right at the beginning. It's in the Ramchal. Yisrael hemin ha'adam be'emes. What the Ramchal speaks about there in Derech Hashem is that Avram Avinu chapped what Hashem wanted from Adam HaRishon when He created him. He wanted him to be a good person. And since he chapped that, he became the gadol of all dairos. Why? Because it was so yesodistic to be able to understand why Hashem created man. And let's get back to this. We got involved with the Migdal Bavel. We got involved with the Mabul. We got involved with so many chatoim. Kind of Avraham Avinu brought it right 10 dairos, and he brought it right back to where it's supposed to be, the Shorish Hadavar. And he said, let's be an Adam. You know a good word for this, what I'm saying? Be a mensch. Ben Adam. Ben Adam. Because a mensch is the prerequisite for the whole Torah. So comes Rav Chaim Vital and he tells us that even before you're going to get to Taryag mitzvahs, to all you have to have the midas tovos, because that's who we are. That's who we are. And if you're missing this, says Rav Chaim Vital, I'm just saying over what he said. If you're missing this piece, this step over here of who you are, and you just do all the right things, you haven't done it. And if you violate one of the things which are Yisodei HaNefesh, which, let me remind you, that Rabbi Yaakov calls Gneivas Da'as, a violation of Yisodei HaNefesh. That's what that means. We have a touch for the word now. Yisodei HaNefesh means foundational structure of a human being in what Hashem had in mind, so to speak, when He created Adam HaRishon. It got lost over 10 generations until 20 generations, until Avram Avinu chapped it, right? 10 generations Noach. So until Avram Avinu chapped it, and he said, this is what an Adam is. Nothing to do with Torah. That's why we have Bereshis. Derech Eretz kan military.
You see that the
So the
Gemara
Mecheret is
itself
the
says
same?
that between a Jew and a boy, there's a Jew has got Mashanim, Gomer Chasadim, there's three qualities.
Yeah.
The boy doesn't see that.
I wrote it here today. I was thinking about it. Yivam Zayin test. Shloisha Simonim Yesh Be'umazu V'Yumazu Rachmanim Baishonim V'Goyim Lechasadim. What about putting on tefillin? Like this is what we do is not the simonim of a Jew. So you see, a Jew could do all Taryag mitzvahs. Is this possible? I don't even know how you could do all Taryag mitzvahs and still be an achzer. Oh yeah.
I just always think it's the goals.
But what do you want for the goals?
How could Jews be like this? When you see Jews,
I'm talking about Jews that do Taryag mitzvahs.
Also me. And then you see them, they're in business and they rip you off and this and that.
Gneivas Da'as. So the Rambam says, Hilchos De'os, right? The Rambam says in Hilchos De'os, I'm going to show you one Isser. I'm going to show you one Isser, which is a violation of the atzmius of who we are.
When Rav Hoshana was here, he said if you don't have Yedias Hashem intuitively, then you're not a Jew.
He said that, Rav Hoshana.
So, like if you need proofs for Emunah, you should have it intuitively. If you don't have it intuitively, you're not Jewish because we don't have that Yisai. That's what he said.
Right. The thing is like this, that if there wasn't Bereshis and Shmos and Va'era and Boy and Bashalach, there wouldn't be a Yisrael. You wouldn't be able to get to Matan Torah if we weren't these kind of people. And the Chatayim, the murmuring, and those were violations of everything. That what I'm telling you now is Yesodistic for the whole Torah. There's a big difference, and here's what we have to think about. Just come out of Hoshana Rabah was one thing, nothing else. That you have to start thinking about. We all have to start thinking more about the Yesodei HaNefesh, besides for thinking about the mitzvahs Averes, because you get so caught. You are what you are when you forget what you learn. Derech Eretz is what it is, Midos. This is what it is. Yesodei HaNefesh. Midos Tovos, Derech Eretz. Baishonim, Rachmanim. A Yid has Rachmanis. If he doesn't have Rachmanis, he could do all the mitzvahs. It doesn't something wrong. Probably not Jewish. We have the chutzpah to say sometimes about people, not Jewish. No, not Jewish. It can't be. Can't be somebody. It can't be the person. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Jews don't do that. I can't hear you, dog.
You learn Torah, you become good. The ocean will bring him back to good. So maybe I don't understand how a person can be bad. Bringing other mitzvahs, Torah, learning Torah.
You know what the lashon of the Chazal is? Tava lehava bisha. You can't become bad. You can become better, or you can get so messed up in our, mishagas, typhus, and all the things that the Rambam's talking about. But the Yesodei HaNefesh, this is what he's telling us. We're not automatically good, but there's a potential to be good. So you keep asking, like where should we get it from? So the answer is the Avos. Where the Avos get it from? Because they were good. Avraham Avinu was a good man.
So that's our DNA, in other words.
Our DNA is to be good. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't, no matter how DNA says you're going to live till 200 years old, but if you live on potato chips, you're not going to live till 200 years old or 50. You can ruin your DNA. I mean, you could violate it, but so it's harder for a Jew to do this. It's Keneged HaTeva.
So the Torah teaches you how to bring it out.
So look, let's learn together. So what's the Torah for? What are we the Torah for? Now that we have Bereshis, what do you need Shmos and Vayikra and Bamidbar Dvar? What do we need Moshe Rabbeinu for? So Moshe Rabbeinu took the people, he was ma'ached the people, and he made a new bris. Now understand something, there's such a thing as the bris avos. That's why I started saying there's two brisos. There's bris avos and bris Sinai. Bris avos means that I'm Jewish. Do you know what they say this back from the Beis HaLevi, that sometimes a person does a gerus and it's not a real gerus. Like, in other words, he was faking. It's not a real gerus. It was mirma. So that's true. Halacha is the halacha. If a person wasn't makabel kol haTorah kula, like a person in time of gerus, we saw such things, right?
used to say if it was a hot mikveh, it was bishul akum.
The what?
It was the hot mikveh, it was bishul akum.
Good. I remember a woman in Geras told me, she became frum and her husband came frum and everything, but she told me that when she did her Geras, and then they went out to a restaurant, a treifa restaurant to celebrate. So the Geras is not a Geras on the one hand. On the other hand, you have to know something, that if she was makabel, or he, if the Ger was makabel, the bris avos, even though halachically you have to do the Geras again, ish b'zeh mashu. If you're makabel to be a Jew be'etzem, so it's an incomplete halachic process. But on the other hand, if a ger is makabel kol ha-mitzvah is not makabel to be a Jew, what are they called? Avram ben Avram. You have to be a ben Avram. Why don't you be a ben Moshe? Ben Avram means that the Yesodei HaNefesh is good. That's the first step of Geras. Bris Milah.
This is why you're talking about like a week and a half ago about Avos.
Avos.
That's why you have to have the kavanah.
That's right. That's why. Very good. That's why the kavanah of the Avos is ma'akiv. I was thinking. I had the Sukkos yesterday. It was yesterday. I just said it a bris. Just said the brachas. Hachster. So I was thinking, like, where do you find a mitzvah that has two brachas? Ala Mila and Lachnisai Bebrisai Shel Avram Avinu. You think of another other than Shechianu.
Sukkos, you say.
Sukkah.
No, before that, when you want to eat, you say both brachas.
A mitzvah that has two brachas.
Where
do you have a mitzvah with two brachas? Huh? No, Amotzi is birchas on the hand. This is two brachas on one mitzvah. Clearly, not birchas on the hand. That's for sure. And then lachnisei b'brisei shel Avram. Why two brachas?
Two brits.
Birchas HaTorah. No, but that's good. No, that's good. The pshat is there's two dinim. There's two dinim in Bris Milah. There's the tzivoy of Moshe Rabbeinu from Har Sinai, and then lachnisei b'brisei shel Avram Avinu.
So like the act and the ramification.
No, there's what you do
action.
and what you are.
Right, you're making a bracha on the action. There's also the ramification of what the essence that's being changed.
No, but you're mixing me up with this word. I think it's not ramifications afterwards. I'm saying alhamdulillah. I'm doing this mitzvah right now with my son, like Avram Avinu did the Akedah with Yitzchak. I'm doing this mitzvah right now with my son because Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai and said I have to do Asher Kichanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu alhamdulillah. Second thing I'm doing, just one second. Second thing I'm doing is lahachnisai b'vrisai shel Avram Avinu. I have to also bring this child into the bris avos.
So it's like a status change. It's a chalos, like by kiddushin.
There you go.
I think what we can learn also is that the mohel says alamila and the father says lachnisai.
Or the father does the milah. He says the alamila. The only reason that he says it is because you have to do a ma'aseh.
There's the shaliach. If he has a shaliach, the shaliach is the one who's doing the physical act, and he has to make the bracha on the physical act. And what the father seems to be doing is like, I'm doing the essence of bringing you into.
Okay, I mean it works nicely, yeah.
When do you go into Bris Sinai?
What?
When do you go into Bris Sinai?
See, that is Bris Sinai, alamila.
The tachlis.
Alamila. And then lachnisei b'brisei, you'll see by birchas HaTorah, I think it works also. But the sherbach harbanu. But let's leave it alone because I didn't think about it for it. But we'll think about it. But what I want to say is that I just chapped it mamish while I was making the brachas. Like why are we saying two brachas? So the answer is because there's two things that are going on here. One is the Bris Sinai, one's the Bris Avos.
Shouldn't the other bracha be
Maskim Nisano? Bris Avos, Bris Sinai. What's left?
Should the bracha be first? Achnisu b'risei shel Avram Avinu, if that's the essence.
Because you're not allowed to be mafsik. That's why. It says right in the Torah. The reason why you make alamila first because you're not allowed to be mafsik.
Yeah, but the Akedah was
But like he's saying a good thing. Like the way it works out is the father makes the bracha lachnis like b'risei shel Avram.
But the Akedah was also for
Akedah also.
Tzivanu was also for
We don't make. He was machnas lebris. Bris Yitzchak.
Does the mohel wait for the father to finish his bracha before he does the milah?
No.
No. So he's already done the physical act before. If the father himself is doing the milah,
so you could say it like this. If we were in yeshivas, we would say this is the physical act and this is the spiritual act. But what I'm saying is that it's that's true. That's for sure true. But there's a deeper meaning to it, or a lumdus to it. And lumdus is that this is the mitzvah of the chituch orla, and this is the concept of lachnisei bebrisa shel Avram Avinu. So what you see is the derech eretz kad military. The order of the brachas, okay, we could be mefalpel. But I just thought of this yesterday, that there's two things that are going on over here, and you hardly see, let me say it that way, because I didn't think through Torah mitzvahs, you hardly see two brachas on one mitzvah.
Is there a bracha for geiros?
Sure.
Can you say it when you're in the mitzvah? Say two brachas.
You say tefillah.
And the tefillah is causing the geiros. That's like milah. Tefillah is causing the geiros.
Very good. So this Avnei Nezer, I learned from Rav Scheinberg, and it's stuck in my mind forever. Well, forever is not over yet, but so far it's in my mind. The Avnei Nezer says like this. This is a very important question if your kids are in school. Im kosav b'ksav yodai shvua. I will not have a smartphone, right? So what does everybody say? This is probably the most asked shaila to me. What should I do? We'll throw away the cell phone. I mean, no. What should I do? So it's like, I was just quoting my oldest son, Sender. He says when he's driving on a cliff and it's a sharp turn, and it's very scary, he just closes his eyes and steps on the gas. So you could just close your eyes and sign. So that's Issa Deraisa, right? So it's an Issa Deraisa of signing. Well, that's what the Avnei Nezer wants to know. Is that like you're over on a shvua b'ksav? Im kasa b'ksav yodai shvua. A little bit like our Halach Hilchos De'os. B'nasan like sivas yodai harei chayav hu l'kayim masha nishba. Afilu loy hoitzi shem shvua mipiv. This is quoting from Uri Magash. Rishon v'im loy kayim dinoi masir l'shamayim. You can't. The klal is you can't give a person an oynish unless they do a maisa, and the Rimagash says ksiva is not considered a maisa of a shvua, but nevertheless it is a dishonesty, and the whole idea of a shvua is we took a shvua, you take an oath, even by the goyim, you take an oath, and that holds. We believe you when you take an oath, right? The olam is Zazea. So listen to this Avnei Nezer. Read it. Nira dehine niskasha Mishnah Melech Perek Yud Hilchos Malachim. Kasha the Mishnah Melech. The Mishnah Melech. I want to tell you something that I once asked the Rashiva Rav Scheinberg Zatzal. I once asked him a question about something. Koyda Matan Torah, Acher Matan Torah. So he said, get a chavrusa and go to get a chavrusa. He told me, and go to Hilchos Malachim to the Mishnah Melech and Perek Yud. It's one Mishnah Melech, which is about 6 pages long. And he said, learn through it with a chavrusa. Because all the Yesodus of Yiddishkeit are in that Mishnah Melech. I'm giving you a hot tip.
Where is it?
Perek Yud. And there's a big Gaon who lives in Mattersdorf by the name of Rav Chanoch Friedman. So there's a big Gaon, a Dayan. And at that time, he was considered like the big Eloi of Mattersdorf. So I told him the story to Rosh Yeshiva said, I shall learn Mishnah Melech Chavrusa. He said, I'll be your Chavrusa. And as he said, that's what the Rosh Yeshiva said, that's what I'm going to do. And we learned together this Mishnah Melech, maybe for 6 months. So here's a line in the Mishnah Melech. Niskasha Mishnah Melech, says the Avnei Nezer, B'shvuos shekoyda matan Torah. All these shavuos, the promises that you find that they made in Sefer Bereshis, before there was a Torah. Avram, v'Yitzchak l'Avimelech, Esav l'Yaakov, Eliezer l'Avram. Haloi shvu einam izayin mitzvah shenitztavam le'noach. It's not one of the 7 mitzvahs. So why was it even important what they did? They made a shvua, they didn't make a shvua. Not kasher. That's the Mishnah Melech's kasher. Comes the Avnei Nezer and he says, "V'li kasha oid." Avnei Nezer was a schap. Al shvuas Har Sinai, right? The whole thing of Har Sinai is that we made a shvua. Nishbayin v'oimdim b'Har Sinai, right? You can't make a shvua to keep a mitzvah and not keep a mitzvah. Shari nishbayin v'oimdim b'Har Sinai. We're mushba already. So we took this oath at Har Sinai to keep the Torah. Avnei Nezer. Kasha al Shvuas Har Sinai Shehu Yisoid Kabbalas HaTorah Harei Kol Zman Shalai Kibla HaTorah Lo Nitztav Al HaShvuah. How do we make a Shvuah? Nasav Nishma. So what? Nasav Nishma. Is that Nasav Nishma? That was a Shvuah. So what? There was no Torah, so there was no Shvuah, so you can say whatever you want. And we're going to do the whole Torah while we're standing on our head. It doesn't. So what? Says the Avnei Nezer. Well, let's go. Void shafilu hayu mitzuvin. Even if you'll say somehow you'll find somewhere quite a mountain Torah that there was an Indian of Shvuah from all these cases of Shvuah. Mikol malkum kol koyach hashvuah mishum shemitzuva lo yachal dvarei. That you're not allowed to violate Shvuah. That's a mitzvah in the Torah. Uma yoser ashar zu mishar ashar shebetorah. In other words, we put the cart before the horse. What was the point in being mushpain v'aim? And there certainly wasn't a lo yachal dvarei. So you could ask this question that if I'm not going to get punished and I'm not doing a lav, so I'll violate the shvuah, if there's such a thing as a shvuah altogether. Yes? It's like a trick question. Because the answer is obvious. Uma Yosef koyach hashvuah ba'azhar shebetorah kimin shashvuah gamkin enu rak hazara. So what's the point that we were mushpain v'aim to Har Sinai? That was before we said nasav and ishma, before there was a Torah, and it had no value. And even if you'll say that it had a value of a shvuah, there was certainly lo yachal dvarei. So that's like saying that we're not going to do aveira pliny because we don't want to get einish pliny, but that there's not something intrinsically wrong with doing the aveira. I'm not going to steal something from you because then I'm going to have to pay kefil. That's not the way to think. So says the Avnei Nezer, here's the Yisayt. Asher al kein nira birurin shel dvarim, devadai mi shenishba la'acher, zeh asfarim achra shemechuyev l'kayim, ein tzarech lezeh shum azara. Obviously, you're not allowed to promise something to somebody and not do it. Obviously. V'hainu shvuas Avraham, Yitzchak, Eliezer, v'chuli. V'hu adin anishba la'akadosh baruch hu. You're promising to Hashem, you have to keep the promise. So he says it's a svar. Achmisha nishba la'atzmai. This is interesting. Now, if you take a shvuah to yourself, shalai yasa davar yasa, meaning I'm not going to eat any more. I'm going to be a vegetarian or something like that. I just make a shvuah to myself. I'm working with my addiction or something like that. But that ain't svar. Kilominas chayiv. Who are you being mechayiv yourself to? But if you're promising something to somebody else, obviously you have to keep it. I disagree. If I'm permitted, I don't think it's because it's a svara. Im timer la kadosh baruch hu minayin sha kadosh baruch hu chafetz b'chiyuv v'yisur zeh l'zeh hu tzricha Torah l'tzavis lo yachal dvar. Listen, you read it like the pshat here is that it's so obvious, it's so pashut pshat. That why is nasav and ishma important? Because it's miyasaydei hanefesh that you don't say something and then not do it. You don't need lo yachal dvarei for this. You don't need taryag mitzvahs for this. Not only you don't need it, but it was around from Avraham Avinu already, and Yaakov and Esav and Avimelech. This has been around forever. It's as old as the hills. You don't promise something and not do it. Why? Because it's Gneivas Da'as.
That's why only Jews are able to get the Torah. And when the Medrash says that Hashem went to every nation, all the things they said they couldn't do are all you say Yisodei HaNefesh.
Yisodei HaNefesh.
I can't murder, I can't this, I can't this.
So you could say that the Zayin Mitzvahs Bnei Noach are Yisodei HaNefesh. I think the klal is like this. Anything that we should know, even if there wouldn't be a Torah, so that's Yisodei HaNefesh. And that's what the Avos chapt. Now, you could ask a kasha, so why isn't it in the Torah? Kasha goes like this. Lama likra svarahu. Lama likra svarahi. So what is that? What is that question? How do you touch that question? What do you say here? Lama likra svarahi. So.
Torah's not here to tell you obvious.
The Torah teaches me Kedushim. I don't know. I should know it.
So every word in the Torah has to be a chiddush. Tzedakah is such a chiddush.
There's no extra
Loi
words.
Sirtzach is such a chiddush.
But you get, don't you get like the extra schar because you command is.
To a psychopath, that's a chiddush.
So the Torah was given to a bunch of psychopaths.
There's no extra
No,
word.
what you're saying is right. So to give them, so what's always the answer to Gemara? Is this way you get schar, or you're over in Avera. Or in other words, the Taryag mitzvahs came, and they put schar v'oinish and sivuyim and gedarim and laws on the Yesodei HaNefesh. But the Yesodei HaNefesh is, again, that's like to make a shavua and not to keep it. That was obvious even Kodim Matan Torah, and that was obvious throughout the whole Sefer Bereshis, because that's the Yesodei HaNefesh. So I come back to the simple thing that Im Kain, we understand why the Hilchos De'os. See, if it's already 11:45, I'll just tell you a little bit of Kabbalah. That there's 7 spheres, right? Wrong. There's 10 spheres. So there's 3 spheros and 7 spheros. 101. I'm telling you something which is a 101. There's 3 spheros and there's 7 spheros. What are the 7 spheros? Very good. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. What are the 3 spheros? Oh God, now I already have a machlokes going on here. No, it's supposed to be Lamala Me'asagasenu, so you shouldn't know. But, so in some places it says, what? Well, this is your subject.
Alter Rebbe says Chacham
Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe said this comes way before the Alter Rebbe, but it's brought down 2 ways. The what? Chachma B'nei V'das. So sometimes Chachma B'nei V'das. The Sefer Yetzirah starts off. How do we know there's 10 spheres? Sefer Yetzirah starts off. There are 10 spheres. Those are the first words of Sefer Yetzirah. Miyuchas Rambam Avinu. There's 10 spheres. Eser v'loi Tesha, Eser v'loi Echad. That's the way it was. Like, just don't try to mess around with this. There are 10 spheres. Okay. The top spheres are either Chachma Bina V'das or Keser Chachma Bina. There's 2 ways that it's brought down. It's not a machlokes. Keser Chachma Bina is straight. I'm out of my pay scale already, but that's coming straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, starting to come into this world, Chachma and Bina, and then it goes into the spheres, which is already things we can understand. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. We understand that. We understand Chesed. I think it's hard to understand Chesed, but it all, like you said before, imagine like a trunk of a tree, or better, let's use the example of the Zohar. There's the Moichin. Let's take an example of our own brain, which is controlling our whole body. Sikreisha v'layamos. You don't have. This is the Taryag mitzvahs, and this is the Das. So the Balatanya, for instance, he decided to that it was extremely important to teach people about the Chachma Bina Das, which is the relatable part of the Keser. Meaning everybody agrees he was a bigger makubal than everybody, but everybody agrees that it's Keser, Chachma, Bina, and then the course. But what he was talking about, that Das underneath, is the relatable, like the switching point, the transformer between the Mochin, which is giving the Koach to the world, and the did I just lose everybody because people hear a little Kabbalah and they get all it's pshuta. I'm not saying anything which is so. What I am saying is one thing is Yesodistic, and one thing is the manifestation of that into this world. So Das is already b'Yesod. Das is b'Yesod. Das, and what comes out of that can't be any better than what it's made out of in its original Homer Gelem, in its original material. However you want to look at it, if it's not there b'Yesod, Sodei Nefesh, if it's not there b'Yesod, it's not going to come out properly. If like your seed is bad, the tree's just going to be bad. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to snip it, you're going to this, you're going to feed it. It's not going to be good. I don't know anything about trees, but I'm saying I know about people a little bit. So in people, if it's not starting off with the right, so the whole Bria started off with this Das. And this is all through Sefer Bereishis, all through Parshas Bereishis, das, Eitza das, right? It's all about this das of it's exactly where it's like we said at the beginning, Geshem, we're going to daven for Geshem. That's what connects the Mayim Elyonim to the Mayim Tachtonim. That's what das is, in the lashon of desire. That's what das is. It's so when we talk about the avos, what they chapped was das. The Rambam, who did not seem to be a big makubal, but this is basic Hebrew, understood that there's such a thing as Sefer Hamada and Hilchos De'os. And Hilchos De'os doesn't mean the laws of opinions. Let's go back to where we started. And it means the laws of das, meaning these are the things, this is what it means. These are the things that you are, not the things that you do. We'll talk later, Ava, things that you do. We'll talk later about Korbanos, about Mishpatim and Shoftim and Kinyan. All those things are there, Zmanim. But right now we're talking about the beginning of Rambam, we're talking about De'os, Hilchos De'os. I'll take a drink or something. That's what I meant. No, that's what I meant.
Yeah, we're going on to the sword plant, yeah?
Yeah.
That essence part comes from, it came from the beginning, that it came from Cain Ve'Abel, where they.
That's where we started violating the Yesodus HaNefesh.
One was trying to, one wanted to bring Korbanos to Hashem, and he brought like the bad stuff. So he was kind
That's where the first violation started. Cain Ve'Abel.
Because you said it's Deraisa, so it needs to come somewhere through the Torah.
It's Deraisa, but I said it was Deraisa, and it is Deraisa, and that's why the Rambam says Hilchos Mechira, Gneivas Da'as is Deraisa.
So I've been trying to figure out.
But Hilchos De'os, he's saying more than Deraisa. More than Deraisa. I'll give you an example of what it means. The Rambam doesn't count. Just an example. The Rambam doesn't count Tefillah as a mitzvah, right? Hello, Chaim. The Rambam doesn't call davening a mitzvah. Emes? Yes or no? The Rambam doesn't call davening a mitzvah. So what's Judaism without davening? You can have Judaism without davening. You have Yiddishkeit without davening. That's what we do. We daven 3 times a day. We have the Yiddishkeit. What do you mean it's not a mitzvah? So comes. The answer is, where do we learn tefillah from? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Shachar, Mincha, Marv. It's not a mitzvah. It's much more than a mitzvah. The chiddush here is there's something much more than a mitzvah. It's in the root. It's much more than a mitzvah. So tefillah, if it would be a mitzvah, Yisodei HaNefesh. If tefillah would be a mitzvah, it would reduce it to something you do. The Ramban says, but it has to be a mitzvah. Okay, make it a mitzvah. But even if it's a mitzvah, you said an example before also. There's a lot of things that are like milah. Even though it's a mitzvah, it doesn't mean it's not part of the bris avos.
It's possible to say it's similar to what Chaim said, that these are all offshoots of Yedias Hashem. Like all these Sukkos De'os are like Mahu, or even Tefillah, like that's Yedias Hashem.
So there's a Rambam says it. Did you say it?
Didn't the Chaim say, like, did you talk about Yedias Hashem? Like for why that's not Yedias Hashem before?
So now, let me read you this in the Rambam. I'll read it to you. Whatever. Didn't say it. There's a Rambam like this. The Rambam says right here, Hilchos De'os. I'm going back now to Perek Aleph. You don't have it there, I don't think. Sorry. Where he's talking about all these midos. All this is talking about midos. De'os means midos. So he says here, Umitzuvin anu is the end of Perek Aleph. Umitzuvin anu laleches b'drachim elu habeinanim. Always try to find the sweet spot, right? The middle spot, because that's going to be, once you're extreme, then you're probably not chapping what Avram Avinu chapped, which is what Adam was supposed to be. To put it in a different language, like the Avos came to be Misaki in the Chet, of Adam Arisha. That's clear. It's all tikkun. We're also coming to be Masakin Achet. Also, when there will be a Gula, that's the tikkun Achet. V'heim Mutzuvin anu lechas b'drachim elu. That's the drachim. All these midos that he was talking about. V'heim adrachim atoivim v'yisharim. Shenemar. How do we know this? Well, he says deraisa, because the Shenemar v'alachta b'drachav. You should be like Hashem. So the yisoid of hanefesh is to be a tzelem Elokim. That's what it comes down to. V'alachta b'drachav. Kach lamdu b'feish mitzvah. That's how the Chazal explained this mitzvah. Mahu nikra chanun afata chanun. What you just said, right? Mahu nikra rachum afata urachum. Mahu nikra kadosh afata atiyah kadosh. That's a new one. Yeah, meaning, like, where does a person have the? Let me just explain for a second. Like the Talmud Torah says, where does a person even have the koach to be a chanun? A chanun means that I'm gonna, even if you did something bad against me, I'm matnas chinam, lashon chinam. It's not normal. If you go through the whole Talmud Torah, just the Parak Aleph, not even the whole Talmud Torah, it's just most of the common denominator over there is not normal. How are you supposed to be like this? The answer is, well, Hashem is like that. That's good. And since we're created b'tzelem Elokim, so Mamelu, we have the koach deep inside to be like that. So we have a koach. We don't even know we have this koach. So it's not just a mitzvah. Mahu nikra chanun afata heye chanun. Mahu nikra rachum afata heye rachum. Mahu nikra kadosh afata heye kadosh. So this is the Rambam teaches over the Gemara. Well, derech zeh karu. Okay, then he goes on, but then he says this. This is what I want to say. That's the yisoid of midas tovos. Ulafi shah shemois ha'elu. There's a lot of shemois shenikra behanayot. There are a lot of names for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Midas hadin, midas harachamim. So he says, I skipped that part. Because of all these names, Rachum v'chanun erech hapayim v'rav chesed. So ha'hoylech b'derech zeh nikras anu chayavim laleches ba nikras derech zu derech Hashem. Isn't that beautiful? Going, in other words, if a person has rachmanas, which is one of the midas of a Jew, so you're not going in a good derech. You're going the derech Hashem. That's the pshat in derech Hashem, which it says already in Breishis about the derech Hashem, derech HaChaim. But who, listen to this, Shalimda Avram Avinu Levanov. Isn't that beautiful? And this is what Avram Avinu taught his children. How to go in the derech Hashem. Shnamar ki yadativ l'man asher yitzav es banav es beisai acharav shamru derech Hashem. Lasei tzedakah u'mishpat. I know Avram Avinu, I can count on you that you, and I will bless you, Hashem said, that your children will continue your derech, which is the derech Hashem. Gewalt. It's the derech Hashem. And what's this derech Hashem that we're talking about? Is he putting on tefillin, Avram Avinu? To daven every day and to do everything which is miyasoidei hanefesh, which is to be a mensch.
You saw that Avram Avinu had the ability, like he accused Paro, that you're not a Yorei Elokim. How could he possibly accuse Paro of not being? What do you mean Yorei Elokim? What was Yorei Elokim?
Well, what was it even?
What was it that he existed?
Because, so the answer is, it's foundational.
Right, the foundation. He understood that.
He understood the foundation of the whole thing. So the Rambam, such a beautiful Rambam, because he just says everything that I just said. It took me 2 hours, takes him 1 second. Yadativ l'man asher yitzav espanav es beisei acharav v'shamru derech Hashem lasei tzedakah u'mishpat v'ahoylech b'derech zu mevi toivu u'bracha la'atzmai shenemar l'man hevi Hashem al Avram es asher diber olav. Okay, beautiful. So this is the pshat in Avos, this is the pshat in the Bris Avos, and this is the pshat in Hilchos De'os, because the Avos is all about das. It's all about das. Rambam says that clearly. Hilchos De'os. Okay, let me just end it with this. This I heard from Rav Moshe Shapiro, that the first Beis Hamikdash was Nechrav. Like 3 biggies. Gilu Arayish, Fichas Damim, Avodah Zarah. That's what we did. That's why we lost the Beis Hamikdash. That was called Hoshana Rambam Hafaris Habris. We violated everything. Gilu Arayish, Fichas Damim, Avodah Zarah, everything which should be foundational to a Jew. Bris Avos. In the time of the Bayis Sheni, we could have had a new bris. We could have returned back to it, but we didn't. What was the problem? The Gemara, Lashon of the Gemara. We knew Torah. We kept Torah. We weren't being Oived Avodah Zarah. We weren't doing Gilui Arayos. We weren't doing Shvichas, but we're doing Sinas Chinam. So he said, you can't give a new bris to Klal Yisrael if there's Sinas Chinam, because Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem. So it's like Bris Sinai, Vayichan Sham. I get a heart. There has to be, there's a halach in Hilchos Bris that it has to be everybody together. Yeah, Lev Achad. And by the Bayis Sheni, we didn't have it, even though we had all the mitzvahs. But there was something, so I want to just say it a little bit different, if I may. That's for sure true. It has to be Echad. But take it a step further. Why weren't we Echad? Because fundamentally we were flawed. Meaning, if we had Sinah, it's one of the things in Hilchos De'os. If we had Sinah, everybody hated each other in the time of the Bayis Sheni, so you might be doing everything. So it's like a Bayis Sheni syndrome. You might be doing everything, but you're hating people. So what are you hating people for? Why do you hate everybody? So once you see you're hating something, this is a gewaldige thing. I just want to share this before we go to sleep, or whatever you're going to do. No, I'm just saying, like, let's say you want to check yourself once in a while to find out if you're a good Jew or not a good Jew. It's a good thing. Just like by yourself. Let's say you want to check to see if you're a good Jew or not. So I'll tell you one big simon. If you hate everybody, that means you're not a good Jew. Like if you find yourself hating, there's something fundamentally flawed. Or, like the Rambam says here, if you find yourself fooling people, you're dishonest. So even you're doing all the mitzvahs and everything, but there's a fundamental flaw here, and that's what you see. This was the mitzvah of Bereshis, Vayishba, 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 and this is why we got to our Sinai altogether, because Mushbayin Vayimdin, Nasa v'Nishba, because we made that shvua. So it's not just about the period. I'm just being mindful. It's not just because there was a period and there's some kind of a thing that magically the bris is not chal unless you're biyachad. That's for sure true. But why? Because there's a fundamental flaw in the Yesodei HaNefesh that Rabbi Yoin is talking about and the Rambam is talking about. Yesodei HaNefesh. Okay.
How do we fix it?
That's next year.
Someone here.
That's a big cliffhanger. What do you give a bracha to? Yosef Elohim, your prime minister, what was that? That was when Yaakov incorporated a prime